Hey everybody, it's Amy Fox with Work in Progress Texas and creator of Bloom by Amy. And if you've been following me for the last couple of weeks, I've been documenting my calorie deficit with you and just looking week to week what a real deficit looks like, especially after a year plus of focusing on sobriety and really kind of restoring my metabolism, taking care of my body, getting my routines and habits down. And this has really been eye-opening. In fact, this week was a little bit tricky. To be totally honest, as I pull up my notes here, of course, again, this is all unedited, live, and in charge. And I think David's going to come home shortly, so that might give me an ADD moment. But to be honest with you, in this fourth week, I can say I feel a little bit off. I feel some momentum has dropped off. I think my gut had some issues this week, which we will touch on. Yes, we're going to be talking about poop a little bit. Stress was a little higher last week and life has just kind of been chaotic. And so I'm really having that prime example of somebody who has normal life circumstances and things that happen to you throughout this journey. Not all of us have perfect schedules. Not all of us have perfect situations where everything just goes perfectly. And it's funny because I do have a couple of clients that are in those kinds of situations. They're in stressful seasons. Maybe they're juggling a lot with family, with their job, maybe it's tax season, crazy stuff. And then I've got a couple of people who are retired. So that's a different kind of dynamic and different levels of schedule chaos. And so again, as I said, like as a coach, this is really helpful line of sight into what are my clients dealing with on a daily basis and where I'm kind of falling short in some areas and need to reassess. So what's cool about being a health coach is that every single week I do that with my clients. And then every single month we kind of recap on how things are going, whether they're in maintenance or in a fat loss phase. And this is going to give us a line of sight into where do we need to make some adjustments. A lot of the times it might be movement adjustment. It might be actually increasing calories a little bit. It might be like your protein targets are still too low. It might be several different kinds of things that we have to focus on and adjust to throughout this process. And that's what's beautiful about having a coach is guiding you through that process. So that's kind of where I'm at right now as I look at my notes. And so I figure the best way to kind of go through the week is to go ahead and share my screen again to kind of give you that granular data because I am obviously weighing myself every single morning and it tells a story every single time. So as you know, this is our app for where we coach our clients. And so we keep track. And what's cool is that we get a weekly averages with the scale. And so at the beginning of this journey at the 4 weeks ago, I was 186.8 pounds. So almost 170 pounds. And currently, and this is not dumbly where that calorie deficit started here. And then now I've kind of had this up and down, and now I'm kind of settled currently at 183.4, so almost 182 pounds. So technically looking over the 4 weeks and everything, I am right on track to that half a pound to a pound a week. So this is good. And you can see the fluctuations here. So where we left off last week was basically having a potluck, having an off day where I didn't eat a lot of protein. I just kind of felt a little snacky. I lost a little momentum. Then I kind of settled down throughout that week. And then this is where we left off last week. Well, as you can see here on March 31st, there was quite a little bit of a jump here. So actually, if I go back to 181.6 is where I landed on the 28th. On March 30th, I went up to 183.6. So what happened there was I actually had a very busy day. I was active, I hit my step goal, and I also had a very heavy lifting session. So on that day, which was a Sunday here, like my weight went up about 2 pounds because of that recovery from my workout. So I want to highlight that. That's also what I shared in my Instagram post today too, was kind of those indicators of how your weight can fluctuate and why. I did not gain 2 pounds of fat overnight, just like that. I basically had my body was responding and recovering to a heavy lifting session. So now we're back into the current week here. Right. So and basically on that Sunday, we had a friend who was recovering from surgery. And so we decided to make a meal for them and kind of focus on that. So in the morning, I went to a restaurant, had an omelet, hash browns, biscuits, had some coffee, had some extra half and half. So probably a higher fat morning. And then I also had a Cadbury egg from the grocery store. And then that whole afternoon we didn't eat. I actually wasn't hungry. And that's one thing about higher fat is that it will satiate you longer. It's one reason why higher fat diets tend to help people feel satiated. But it is 9 calories per gram versus 4 calories per gram for carbohydrates and carbohydrates and protein. So we just visited with our friends and just kind of had a wonderful, lovely evening. And then that on the way home, we were like, let's go out to eat. Let's go grab a bite by one of those restaurants that's caught our eye on the way home. And when I got into the restaurant, like I was having this moment. In fact, I'll just stop sharing for a second. I was having this moment where if you know about me, I'm basically been sober since January 2nd, 2024. And there are some triggers that will come up from time to time where I will feel like I want to drink. And we were kind of in this beautiful, beautiful sunny day, super comfortable weather, sitting on a patio, listening to live music with water, some water off to the side, like a little river. And it just felt like reminiscent of what I've done for the last 20 years, right? Have a beverage. And I could have had a Heineken Zero, but I decided not to. And I just had the Diet Pepsi. So what I did was I said, hey, Amy, when you're looking at this menu, just have something that's you're going to enjoy because it's better to enjoy something than to have a drink. And I can tell you sincerely, because it was summery, I was this close to ordering one of those really good salads, minus like the dried cranberries and like a protein on the side. But I ended up picking the fish and chips. And obviously, fish and chips is two fried sources. And then for an appetizer, we did have a soft pretzel. We shared a soft pretzel. So I went into it with no guilt. I'm not saying to feel guilty about those choices, but I am saying that two restaurant meals in a day actually impacted my gut significantly. I was feeling pretty darn blocked up that next morning. And that's where I got on the scale. And it was, oh yeah, let me share again. I got up on the scale and it was 185.8 pounds. So you're kind of like, holy crap, almost back to where I started, right? Well, we have to take into consideration that like sometimes when you're blocked up, that is part of this deficit journey. You can carry extra weight because your digestive system is blocked up. And I can tell you, like, I do have several bowel movements a day, and you're supposed to. It's actually very healthy. If you don't have bowel movements on a regular basis, that's not a good thing. We have people, friends and family that I have had issues with that. That's usually led to other things. So if you are not pooping every day, that is a problem. So you should get that checked out, by the way. But you can definitely tell when you feel blocked up and bloated. And I'm pretty confident those two restaurant meals, and of course, having my dinner be two fried options, contributed to me like feeling really swollen in the morning. Like my face was swollen, everything. And I have another instance this week that I'll share too in relation to that. But as you can see, then it just kind of settles back down. Like it goes back down to where it was supposed to. And then here in this range, this April 3rd, we went into buy a car for myself. I wanted to trade it in for a lower monthly payment. And of course, you're there for hours. Like it's unnecessary. You walk in and you're financed already. Like, why does this take hours to do? And so we end up getting food super late, like at 8:30 at night at this Torchy's restaurant. And it's basically tacos. And so I had a fried chicken taco and a blackened salmon taco. And they were just kind of scarfed them down and I had some chips and queso. So again, I had some fried options. And I did not feel like very good. So another reason why it kind of jumped back up again. And and what I did right here was I actually got up that morning and started to kind of get ready really quick because I had some things I was getting ready for. And then I used the restroom. And because I hadn't drank my water yet, I thought, you know what? I'm just going to get back on the scale and see how much did that bathroom time subtract. And it subtracted 0.2 pounds. Like who knows how much it weighs? I'm not taking stuff out of the toilet to weigh it. But it's kind of like, again, here is a perfect example of a bowel movement adjusting the scale weight. So I'm kind of glad that I had this experience to show you that like this, my gut was not happy. The restaurant food was not agreeing with me. And I also like almost had disaster pants. Like I'm just being straight up with you because that's the reality. Things going through your digestive system do play a role. So kind of where I've landed here is that 183, which again, it's really on track for the last couple of weeks. And I can sincerely say that I've had some challenges this week, like with getting my steps in, more stressful work week, more demanding during the daytime hours. But what's cool is that now I don't have to be on a 7:30 in the morning meeting anymore. Like I've been doing this 7:30 meeting for the last probably 5 to 6 months. And now it's no longer required for me, which is so refreshing because it really was dipping into my morning routine. That lost hour was sucky. Like, yes, I would be productive and I'd be getting ready and I would be listening in, but I didn't have to be there. And thankfully, they identified that I don't have to be there. And we get these recaps afterwards, which is just such a blessing. So that means that I can restructure my morning how I'd been doing it all of 2024, which really was focusing on getting my walking done in the morning, especially with Texas as summer is starting to creep in, and get my workouts done in the morning as much as possible too, because that really that hour being taken away was pretty significant. So that's a huge blessing. So basically what I'm going to do next week is touch on how I'm rearranging some things to kind of get back on, because the first 2 weeks felt really, really strong. These last 2 weeks definitely didn't feel as strong, but no matter what, for the whole month, I've been in a calorie deficit. And that is the most important part of the fat loss journey, is remaining in that calorie deficit. So collectively on a weekly basis, I've been hitting those benchmarks, which is good. And that's the thing, is like everybody has a different, different experience with their schedule. If I've got some clients who are retired, they have a little bit more flexibility with their time. And then I've got other clients who have stressors and certain things. We just try to decide how to adjust and adapt and get around like the day-to-day stuff, because it's just not a linear change. So that's what's nice, is like we always are going to adjust what you need for your schedule in order to get you to the end result. And some people's situations are a little bit more bumpy. That's one reason why we do pictures and measurements too, because I have classic examples this week of several clients who are seeing way more changes in their before and after pictures than they are on the scale. So next week, I will also get updated measurements and pictures just to kind of have that side-by-side comparison to show you. Also this week, MyFitnessPal crashed for like 24 hours and I lost all of my data and my streak. And thank goodness it like came back the next day. But I did start using Chronometer, and that was kind of growing on me. I wasn't opposed to potentially switching to Chronometer. But what's nice about MyFitnessPal is it brings over your food diary, so I can see those details in there too. Let's see. I think the assessment for the last week, I think the fried food definitely played a role in my gut. It shows you just don't have control in restaurant settings on how food is prepared. Even if it's not a fried item, it's still contaminated in some way, cross-contaminated in some way. You can't pick the quality. It can't always be organic. It's very, very tricky to eat out. So I think it's just doing the best you can. And in those moments for me, not having a drink and choosing something that really sounded good. And it tasted wonderful. The fries and the fish were wonderful. But, next time I might make a different choice, because I feel like this week I've had a couple instances where if those 2 times I had fried food, my gut was kind of disrupted. I mean, that's kind of a sign. Like maybe I need to try to make the French fries at home or something and try to get other options when I'm out. That's just kind of me assessing. And then overall, like, I think my plan, I think, is I had some in my notes to kind of adjust the protein and movement, but I'm going to basically take next week to kind of say, how do we make adjustments when you've had a couple of weeks in a deficit and things aren't necessarily falling on plan for how you feel. Like I know for a fact I need to increase steps. I need to get my training sessions, and I'm probably averaging 1 to 2 a week, and I'd rather be like 2 to 3 a week. And definitely the steps, like we've got a current challenge going on with our clients, which is really helping kind of keep the fire under my tush too. But the other thing that I wanted to give you a little pearl on was the idea that the 80-20 rule. I'm actually going to go into way more detail on our Monday group coaching call. But I wanted to give you a little nugget, because when you are in a calorie deficit or when you are in maintenance, you can still make room for foods that you love. That's why I love macro counting. I don't say if it fits your macros, it's fine, because quality of food still matters. Where you get your food, how you get your food, the types of food still matters, but we can make some cuts for budgets as well. But there's like this 80-20 rule, and I've kind of gotten that from the sales world, where 80% of your business will come from 20% of your clients in the sales world, like when you're getting some kind of revenue tracking. So you can apply the same metric to your calories. If you have 2,000 calories a day, just for easy math, and you multiply it by 7, and then you divide it by 0.2, so that's 20%, you basically have 2,800 calories a week to work with, where they can be fun foods like the desserts, like the just the splurges, maybe some processed food. Like I'm never going to give up boxed macaroni and cheese. I will never give that up. I know it's highly processed, but yes, I pick an organic one. Still, it's one thing that I'm just never going to give up. So all of us have like those foods that we're just never going to give up. So I want to make room for that. So even if you're in a calorie deficit or you're in a maintenance calories, you just take your daily allotted calories, multiply it by the week, because we always do weekly averages. I do weekly averages for calories, weekly averages for steps, and weekly averages for weight. So take that allotted calorie amount, and I have created a free protein and calorie calculator. If you would like that, I'll put that in the comments as well. So you can go calculate what would your need for protein and calories be in order to be in a deficit and to lose weight. So take that, multiply it by 7, and then take that number and I think it's divided by 0.2 or it's multiplied by 0.2. Math. But anyways, that'll be like 2,800 calories. And my suggestion usually is to budget a treat every single day so you just don't feel like you kind of turn off that food noise a little bit. But some people might save them for the weekends, and we can do weekend calories. Like that's another thing, another strategy too, is you have a different amount of calories Monday through Friday, and then you got different calories for Saturday and Sunday, but it's still totaling up to the same weekly amount. And that will help you hit those calorie targets. So what I'm getting at with the 80-20 rule that I just wanted to share with you is really just the ability to budget in some fun foods so that you don't feel so deprived or restricted. You should never feel deprived or restricted because we're always going to be eating the way that you normally eat. We're just taking away some carbohydrates and fats, just the amount that you can have. You just have to have smaller portions of that. And when you're hitting your protein targets and your fiber targets, that is very, very doable. And then if you're able to sprinkle in some of those fun things like Cadbury eggs or mini eggs, oh, hello, I love Easter candy. That is it just makes you feel more sane. Yes, you do have to have a little self-control to not like go eat the whole box if you're having a moment. But that's why I like having a little bit of treats throughout the day or basically throughout the week so that I'm not feeling I'm saving it up for Friday or whatever. So that's a strategy that hopefully is a nugget for you to take away. I hope this recap of the week was of value to kind of see where I'm at. So next week we'll talk about how am I going to kind of reassess things and adjust things because I can feel myself not wanting to be in the deficit anymore. And when you actually eat enough for your body and learn how to eat for you, it is hard to be in a deficit. It's hard to stay in it when you actually know the stuff that you have to follow through with. It's a little bit that's why I think a coach is so valuable. I think sometimes a coach is even more valuable on maintenance calories because you're not getting that dopamine hit of like smaller numbers on the scale. But to me, it's kind of like such a blessing again to kind of go through this process and remind myself that calorie deficits aren't fun. Like nobody likes them. And anyone who says that they're a piece of cake is not being honest with you. The reality is they can be easy and doable and you can be satiated and still live your life and have fun and have those moments where you like maybe splurge a little bit on a dinner or whatever. But the reality is that it does take some focus and discipline. And that's why I like to have a countdown for how many days you have left in a calorie deficit. So you can just keep your eye on the prize. Like for me, my eye on the prize is the Cody Johnson concert at the end of June. I just want to feel good and like rock a good look for Cody Johnson and have a good fun weekend for David's 50th birthday. So that's kind of like eye on the prize. Something to aim for is always good. So I hope this is like helpful, brings some value. If you have any questions, let me know in the comment section. I'll have the Facebook group, free Facebook group, my Instagram. If you are not following me yet, if you have any questions, never hesitate to reach out. And I really appreciate you for watching this. And I hope you have a great day or evening or whatever time you catch it. So thanks.